Well, welcome everyone. As we're finishing offering, I just want to give a heads up to all the fathers out there. At the end of service, I'm going to have all the fathers come on stage for a picture because fathers love group pictures. You don't have to do that. We're not going to do that. We can say the same thing we always say at family functions. We can say, we took that picture last year. So with that, I'm Jake, Harren, and this is my wife, Justine. And we're going to be here today and sharing more with you a little. Some of you know us well, but more with you about us. And some of you might be thinking, isn't that the guy who was riding the moped through here? And believe it or not, a lot of people didn't realize it wasn't Pastor Mike on a chopper because of the body double that I am. So since people were craving Pastor Mike after the phone call, they said, we got to get somebody up there who looks like that stud muffin pastor we have. So that's why they called me up here. But to rein me in a little, they said, you need to bring your wife this time. So with that, we're excited to be here. And one more disclaimer. We've been here for about 5 years now this summer. And that means if you've been here 5 years or more, you might be next up here. So somebody might come asking you if you'd like to be on the platform. With that, we are going to be doing, as you can see, a podcast style sermon today. It's not quite a sermon, but a podcast style where we're going to be interviewing each other and having some back and forth conversation. And if that's new to you, if you've ever listened to the radio show that we have here, like something to chew on or something to think about, things like that, or chew on this, excuse me, just a lot of that kind of back and forth banter and dialogue, so that we hope that you are excited to hear more about us. With that, I would like to introduce you to my wife, Justine. Some of you know her as Justine, and some of you, maybe by the end of today, will be calling me Mr. Justine, because Pastor Michelle is really trying to get this whole, why does everybody have to know who your wife is? We should say things like, this is Mr. Justine. So I'm Mr. Justine, and my wife, to tell you a little bit more about her, she is very devoted to her faith, and she spends a lot of time with the Lord each day, and that's something that she continually grows in, and I admire about her. Justine, as a wife, is someone who chooses love again and again, just to tell you more about her. And I use the word chooses because if you're in a relationship, whether you're married or not in your relationship, there are often times you have to choose to love that person, even if you don't feel like it. And she's very good at that. And she's determined, and she's always thinking ahead. As a mom, she loves unconditionally, and she's very consistent and organized and planned with our family and with our kids. And if you know us, we're also the parents of Rodney and Amelia back in Little Kids Church. And as a friend, Justine is loyal, and she's always ready to engage in the hard conversations, and she cares deeply. So that's an introduction to my wife. Who am I, wife? There's that podcast banter we're going for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I get the pleasure of introducing my husband. And so this is Jake. Lots of you have seen him before on stage. But some more detail into his life. He is first a child of God, and he's loved by his father. As a husband, he loves self-sacrificially in a way that I did not understand until we got married. He's loyal and patient, and he is fully devoted to me and to our marriage. And it's a gift to be confident in that. As a father, for those of you who might be in our stage of life, you might know who Bluey is, the dog TV show. I like to say that Jake is real life Bluey dad.
All that entails.
Yeah, because Jake is 100% into being a father. He is fully in it. You can find him on the ground with our kids every day. You can find him with Rodney on his shoulder as he's fixing a car or fixing our microwave. He's gentle and kind with our kids, and he loves them fiercely. Another part, along with the kid thing, he doesn't work for State Farm.
But I'll give you a quote. It's all right. It's all right.
Jake is an elementary teacher. So Jake even beyond our kids, he's kind of a kid magnet. Wherever we go, kids kind of find him and follow him. And so I think it's that genuine love and loyalty, and again, 100% in it. As a friend, Jake is inviting and inclusive. He, as those of you who have the privilege of knowing him or being his friend, he has very excellent social skills. And he has never met a nut that he can't crack. Meaning, the more shy and reserved you are, the more interested he is in getting to know you and getting you talking. So if you haven't met him before and that's you, just wait. He'll find you, I'm sure.
That might make some of you clench up a little, like, I'm not looking for that guy after service, but I will find you and I will make you talk about anything.
He really likes to find the things that people like to talk about and get them talking. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really a privilege to know Jake and be married to Jake, and raise kids with him. So my role here in today is going to be kind of to keep us on track, make sure we keep moving.
I can't deny that.
And I have some questions for Jake. I'm going to be sharing some stuff too. But to start, Jake, can you tell us a little bit about growing up? What was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, this is where we go to our first picture on the Trons. And I grew up in a family of 5. There's me with the cool Western shirt. Thank you very much. And there's my twin brother. He's been here once or twice. Some of you have met him. And my sister and my mom and dad. And we grew up in a family with lots of laughter and humor. And that was a good thing. There was always humor. I mean, some teasing, but it was always in good fun. And even if something wasn't going right and wasn't going as planned, which if you're here and you're human, you've experienced that in life, there was always a time for humor in our family growing up. Some things that were important or modeled, not just from my parents, but generationally. My grandparents are here today, one set of them who are still with us, and we're very thankful for them. But there was this importance of family and this emphasis of family, not just, again, in our family of 5, but generationally. And you stop what you're doing and you work hard to support each other. And if someone else needs something, even if it's not a convenient time for you, you go help them. And we learned that in our family, and I think that definitely expanded to extended family and friends. But just this idea of whatever you're doing, you work hard and you provide and take care of each other. And that's something that I'm very grateful for. And a fun fact in that share is that my grandparents from my mom's side and my grandparents from my dad's side actually were next door neighbors for about 40 years in New Brighton. And my mom and dad didn't start dating until after college, but they knew each other since they were in grade school. So we were very fortunate. You don't realize how lucky you are to always go to one grandparent and always be able to see the other, because they literally were not just family, but also great neighbors for many years. So that's very cool. That's a little bit about my family. We also had a little dog growing up. He's not in the picture, but this little tiny toy poodle named Tux, and that was pretty cool too, because we always wanted a dog, but he was like this big. We could bring him everywhere, and some people didn't even know we were bringing him with us because you could hide him in your pocket. And that's a little bit more about my family, but wife, your family, most of them, all of them are here joining us today.
Yeah.
What was life like for you growing up?
I also have a picture of my family. So Jake and I actually had pretty similar upbringings in a lot of ways, down to the fact that both of our dads' names are named Scott. So our kids have 2 Grandpa Scotts.
True.
And I also had a brother and a sister. I did not have a twin, but I was the oldest. And again, similar to Jake, family was well emphasized in my life as well. We grew up about 2 blocks away from my grandparents, and it was always modeled to us that your family is very important and grandparents are very important and you're there for them when you need it. And I was fortunate that my grandparents were there for me whenever I needed them or whenever I didn't need them. They were at every important and not important part of my life. It was actually when my grandma unexpectedly passed away, it was one of the hardest things I've been through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's pretty similar pretty similar upbringings.
Even her brother's name is Jake.
Oh yeah, my brother's name is Jake too. So,
but he's Jake 1 because he was in the family first, even though I'm older and I'm Jake 2.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And it's not my dad's not here today, but he didn't like this joke, but I'll tell it anyway. At first, because my dad's older than Justine's dad, and they're both Scott, I tried to have old Grandpa Scott and young Grandpa Scott. Well, old Grandpa Scott didn't like that, so we go with Grandpa and then Grandpa. Yep.
yeah. So moving on, Jake, can you tell us?
Let's stay on track here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your coming to Christ story?
Yes. When I was growing up, we went to church, and I would say as we got older and I got older, we became continually more involved. Church went from something that we did on Sundays to your faith is something that's with you all the time, and God is always with you. And we saw that grow, not just in my own life, but also for my siblings and my parents. And in 7th grade, I shared this a couple years ago when I shared my testimony, but if you weren't here for that or need a little refresher, in 7th grade, we were at this weekend retreat through church, and they had a coffin standing upright with the top and the bottom missing so you could walk through it. And again, a coffin is what Dracula sleeps in, and a casket is like what you see nowadays. So it was kind of creepy and weird that they had this thing there, and you saw it and you're like, this is weird. But the theme of the weekend was being dead to sin or dead to the world and alive in Christ. And that was the weekend that I accepted Jesus and asked him into my life for the first time of my own free will or of my own doing. And some things that went along with that were, like, for the first time I thought, like, yes, I believe the Bible and I believe that it's true. And like, I realized these stories aren't just like a book. This is a history book of things that really happened, and these are all true things. With that, I also realized that I'm often going to choose wrong, even as I, was continuing to grow up and in middle school, and I have sin in my life, and Jesus died for that. And another part of that was just the acceptance prayer of, I want Jesus to be the leader of my life. And those were some of the elements that I was thinking about when I accepted Jesus that weekend. And what changed that weekend initially was nothing. And if you're a believer, maybe you experienced that or had a totally different experience. But I kind of thought something, I don't know, awe-inspiring was going to happen. And that's when I was kind of realizing, looking back, and Pastor Mike has shared about that here too, that when you accept Jesus and ask him into your life, it isn't this all of a sudden like you're somewhere totally else in a totally different world, but it's just direction. All of a sudden, your destination has changed to going for things that you want to now chasing after God. And that was when I first made that step in that direction in 7th grade. And you have a story, a similar time frame in middle school life.
Yeah.
About how you
Well,
met
I was
Jesus.
going to make a comment that I told him that you guys probably didn't need to know the difference between a casket and a coffin, but he insisted that you do. So, fun fact for you.
Well, I used to work in funeral service, and it was just, when people say coffin, you're like, well, we're not burying Dracula, so we don't use coffins like that. But anyway, technicality.
Yeah, so...
Some people did need to know that. Some people are like, this is going to come up on Jeopardy later.
For me, mine was also around middle school, my coming to Christ story. And it was actually a book. There was this book, it was a novel, and for teenagers, a youth novel. And it was essentially a diary of a 16-year-old girl. And she was a Christian, and she was just, navigating life as a Christian. And this book didn't depict a God who created me or her and just like let her go and like a wind-up toy and let her go. The book also didn't depict a God who was sitting there waiting to make sure that she followed all the rules and didn't do anything wrong. The book depicted a God who wanted to be there in her everyday life, that she talked to every day, and that guided her every day. And that was new to me, and that was exciting and engaging, especially as a middle school girl, with my middle school girl drama and emotions. But I was seeing that God was actually interested in that. He was interested in being involved in that everyday stuff. So there was a salvation poem or a salvation page with a prayer at the end of the book, and that was my official prayer and changing direction, as Jake said. Mm-hmm. Of course, there were bumps along the way, as there were for both of us.
Since your parents are here and they'd appreciate this, you said middle school. I hear you were kind of a sass in middle school. And what exactly did you lost something one time because you weren't listening? What exactly did you get taken away?
Food.
Food. She got her food. Why? Why did you get your meals taken away, wife?
Because I like to complain about my mother's cooking. Yep. Mm-hmm. That did happen. Now as a parent, I can see it. Because we have a three-nager at home, that 3-year-old teenager, mm-hmm. with a lot of sass.
Even this morning, as we were getting ready for church, she has this thing where if she gets anything yucky on her hands, she wants to get it off her hands as fast as she can, which would be doing this. And as the lead launderer in our family, I'm really sick of the fruit stains right here. And she had raspberry, literally a spot of raspberry went like that. I'm like, we're trying to get ready for church and we're eating breakfast and you're already doing it. It's 8:10 in the morning and you're already testing me on Father's Day. Come on.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. We grew up. We graduated high school.
We did.
We flew the nest.
Yep.
And then we met each other. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give us a little summary from your perspective on how we met?
Yeah, we were both attending Bethel University, and I was taking some elementary teaching courses, and one of them was a math class, and you could go to the math lab where the tutors were and get extra credit just for simply being there. You didn't have to show the professor you did anything. And I was like, I'll go get some extra credit. And in that time, there was a couple different math tutors for the class that I had, and Justine was one of them. And after I'd been to math lab a couple of times, I was like, there was one math lab tutor who was particularly cuter and more entertaining to hang out with than the other two, so I'm going to make sure I go when she is the tutor. And unfortunately, fortunately for her, since she was the tutor for the class I needed, she kind of had to put up with me since I was there. So that was initially how we met. But wife, wouldn't you tell everyone what I was wearing when you met me?
So Jake would come in. This was like a late night math lab session. I don't even think it started until 8.
Yeah, it was 8 o'clock Sunday nights.
Which way too late for me now. Mm-hmm. But college. And Jake would come in wearing a suit, full-on suit, and with a trench coat over it.
I took my education very seriously.
And he would come in, and the reason he was wearing a suit and a trench coat was because he was coming to math lab after his job that he had. And some of you may have heard of his job. Do you want to give one sentence? What did you do?
If you didn't already know, I used to be the guy who drove a hearse here, so I was a removal driver. So I would come from my 12-hour shift of picking up people who needed a ride after they passed away, and then I'd go to math lab. So I usually came with stories around things that one would experience when driving said hearse.
So we didn't actually start dating for at least a year after we met. But I would mention this guy to my family, and my family knew him as Dead Body Guy. And I mean, that nickname still pops up, Dead Body Guy, because I ended up marrying Dead Body Guy. So,
yep.
Jake, was it love at first sight?
I would say no, it was not. It was definitely infatuation at first sight. Like I'd never met someone where a lot of my free time or free thoughts all of a sudden were like, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder where she's going. I wonder how her day is going. But no, I definitely don't think it was like, I'm going to marry this girl at first sight or anything like that. Not like one of those TV shows or anything. Mm. Yep. How about for you? Was it love at first sight? It was a trench coat. I know.
Yeah. No, for me, for those of you who know me, I have plans, and I had a life plan.
And I wasn't in it.
No,
I wasn't in it.
He was not in it. I have career ambitions, and I was going to work really hard on my career, and then I was going to meet somebody when I was 30, and I was going to get married, and then shortly after we were going to have kids, and that was a beautiful plan, and that is what I was going to do. So there was actually a lot of wrestling with God when Jake came in, because my plan was a good plan. God won out, so, it was a good thing. So here I am, 31, been married for 8 years and have 2 kids. So clearly my plan did not go as I wanted, but it was for the best. And I'm still able to do all of the career things that I wanted to. God's blessed me with both options.
Yes, she was very busy doing all of her plans, even when we were dating. That sometimes it made dating difficult because it's like I was this additional part of the plan, but she still had all of her other parts to focus on. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to have you in my schedule.
I got whatever time.
I had my life scheduled out, very full.
Well, that sometimes seems familiar 8 years into marriage, so okay.
Okay, I might have a problem with saying no to things.
Yeah.
That I still work on that. I'm a little better though. Yeah.
She's a work in progress.
Okay. So we dated for a while.
Yep.
About 3 years. We graduated from college, both with teaching degrees, and we both taught, and that was hard. If you are a teacher or know a teacher, your first year of teaching is very difficult. But we decided to get engaged during that.
Yep.
Is there anything you want to say about the engagement?
Well, I think there's a picture for this one. We got engaged at Bethel. That's where we first met.
That was the first picture I could find of us together.
Yeah. They even had phones back then with cameras. Yep.
Okay, next one. Next picture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep, we graduated. Different semesters.
Yep.
Next picture.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Got engaged.
Got to work a car in there. We got engaged at Bethel, which it's funny if any of you are married and wherever you guys got engaged at, how some place that's just an everyday place all of a sudden becomes very special when you met your someone there. So we got engaged at Bethel on a walking path by the lake where we always used to go on walks, which at the time didn't seem like anything special until we got engaged there, and now it has a special place. And yes, that is a 63 Ford Galaxy for those of you who are trying to figure it out. And yes, it's a 406 G code with 3 deuces and a 4-speed and 411 gears. And it does have cutouts, which are pretty cool. And that's not my car. A friend of mine who had that car. I called my friend up, and I say my friend, and my friend is pushing 80 now. He still has that car, and I said, can I use the Galaxy to propose to Justine? And he said, sure. So that was a lot of fun. It was cool because my friend also got engaged in a 63 Ford Galaxy, but that was back in the 60s when that was like a new car. So, and with that, let me stay on track here.
Well, I want to say that I think being engaged was actually one of the hardest parts of our relationship. It was challenging because we were teaching, figuring out how to be adults. We wanted to be married, but we weren't. Jake was still going home every night, and the stress of planning a wedding, it was, I would say again, that was like one of the hardest parts of our relationship.
Yep.
But we got married.
We did.
And we do have a picture of that.
Yep.
So we got married in Florida. This was my dream. I grew up going to Florida because my grandparents owned a condo. And I saw lots of weddings on the beach. And so I had this wedding planned way, way, way before Jake.
No, this was my dream too, I was told.
No, Jake, graciously, I am very thankful that he was willing to drop into my plans here and willing to compromise what he wanted.
I'm glad she could fit me in.
To fulfill my dreams, because it really was a dream. We had about 65 people that came to Florida, which was awesome. It was like a whole week of celebrations, and it was one of my favorite weeks ever, I think. But Jake, do you want to tell them about your favorite picture? We don't have the picture, but
Yeah, my favorite, well, there was a lot of good memories, but one of my favorite ones, which shouldn't be my favorite, but it is, on the morning that we got married, we were supposed to have a wedding party of 6, and it went down to a wedding party of 4 because my brother, who isn't here, but he was the best man, but my other good buddy since middle school and high school, Jeff, he was there too. They both got like a 24-hour sickness that came down with some guests. So you might think, oh, the best man and the groomsmen were out hitting it too hard last night partying, and they weren't. They went to bed when I went to bed, and they both came down ready to walk their bridesmaids down the aisle, and they were like white as a ghost. So when Justine is walking down the aisle of our wedding, off to the side was a tent for lunch and stuff, and my 2 groomsmen are sitting on the cooler like this. Like, they wanted to be here, but they also felt like they were going to die with the sickness. And I wasn't watching my wife walk down the aisle the whole time. I was staring at them going, this is hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those of you who got tears from your husband as you walked down the aisle, that was not my experience. But it was all fine, and we got married at the end of the day, and that was the goal, and it was beautiful. And that's not even. I mean, I think about that sometimes when I think about our wedding, but that's not the primary thing I think about.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those things in life too, where you have a plan, and it doesn't go as planned, but yet everything's fine, and you, even as it's happening, you're like, this is okay, like this is good. It wasn't really that big of a deal. But sometimes if you're so rigid on your plans, like before I was around or something, it's hard to think about things in a different. It's hard to think about things not that she still doesn't have plans. It's just hard to think about things in a different way when you're so. If you just get fixated on like all the details have to be perfect, and you might think a third of your wedding party not making it to the wedding because they're sick isn't perfect, but it was perfect still.
Yeah. So we got married, and then we got into our first couple years of marriage. After we got married, we moved into an apartment, and Jake really loved apartment life.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to tell us all of the things you loved about apartment life?
Yeah, let's see. Where do I start? Some things I like about apartment life.
He's being sarcastic.
Yeah. I liked when people who I lived with broke into my car in the underground garage. I liked when people would buy a 75-inch flat screen TV and then put it in the cardboard dumpster right under the sign that says, please crush your boxes, and not crush it. I liked when people would smoke substances in the hallway at midnight and then walk around with their sunglasses on eating buckets of fried chicken. I liked when apartment 106 on the first floor set off the fire alarm every other month. Clearly, you should unplug your oven, stop using it. I liked when people would use the shopping cart for their groceries and then leave it in a stairwell. That's one of those jokes, you gotta think about it for a minute, but what are you gonna do with a shopping cart in a stairwell? There's just so many things I liked about apartment living.
Yeah. So we left apartment living, and we bought our first house. We were super young.
Also, this was like a nice apartment. Like, this was like on the higher end of our budget, and like it wasn't like you're like, oh man, we got this place for like $300 a month or something. So it was frustrating that you're paying a lot of money and some of the people around you aren't also taking care of the place that they live in.
So we bought a house.
And what
we were I don't even know who gave us a mortgage because we were super poor teachers with lots of student loan debt. But we got a mortgage. We bought a house, and our house, it was this, I say it was the cheapest house in the best neighborhood. It was in New Brighton. Jake has a different description about it.
It wasn't. It was literally, if you go on any of the housing apps and you sort the houses with the cheapest one first, that was it. It was really easy to buy it because you're like, well, we're just going to find the cheapest house. Boom, done. You don't even need to tour it because that's the only one you can afford. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this was a 100-year-old house. It was built in 1925, and it was a rental for 10 plus years before we owned it.
So it was well maintained.
So we had lots of fun fixing things in that house, a lot. And we didn't have a lot of money. So we did a lot of YouTube, lots of YouTube, and we became plumbers and electricians. And
shout out to the old dudes at Buy Swingers there in New Brighton who know things about old houses. You just show up there And you're like, I'm going from PVC to copper to galvanized to some foreign substance of plumbing, back to this, back to this. They'd be like, oh yeah, I can make that work. And he would.
Yeah, so we have some funny stories from the house. So what's your favorite story?
Well, upon reflection here, I'm thinking that we missed an opportunity because there's so many housing shows out there. If you would have just brought a camera crew to our house and just like watched it slowly fall apart as you're just trying to live in it, we could have had our own remodel show. But there was a lot of problems. And
oh yeah, we got some pictures here.
oh yeah, yep. There's us taking down the kitchen ceiling was a big one. And that was a big one because when we moved in, somebody painted it like bathroom high gloss white. And you're like, easy on the shiny paint there, buddy. But as I would walk around, the rest of the house, I was always, again, like this Pastor Mike body double. But I'd walk in the kitchen and I'd feel taller, like Alice in Wonderland. And as we lived there like 6 or 8 months, I'm like, there's just something weird about the kitchen. I mean, the house was all crooked and stuff. It was 100 years old. So I'm like, I don't know. It's just settled weird. And slowly it got to the point where that kitchen light was like 6 inches from my head. I'm like, and there was no cracks or anything in the ceiling. I'm like, this just isn't, and the bathtub wasn't above it. I'm like, there's something going on here. So one day when Justine was gone, good time to do projects. I pulled on the light. And then I realized what they did, as you can see in that picture where you can see all the old lath and plaster boards, the plaster, like plaster likes to do, started crumbling and cracking. So they just put up some 1x6s over it, but they didn't make sure they hit any joists or anything. They just started shooting air nails into plaster. And then they put up a layer of sheetrock.
Yeah, if you know anything about plaster, you're not supposed to nail into plaster.
We learned that too. Then they put up a layer of sheetrock. But since it wasn't really attached to anything firm, it started sagging and cracking. So they put up another layer of sheetrock. So that's what the weight of the ceiling was. So I wasn't losing my mind. It was actually getting shorter. That was one of the many entertaining things. And this picture there where I'm using that cat's paw to bust out nails, this was a helpful picture because I'm like, that's right, I do have one of those. And I found it in the garage just a couple weeks ago. It'd been missing for years.
Yeah.
But I found it.
Yeah, we need it for a deck project.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
My favorite house story was following the kitchen ceiling being gone, because then we just like lived without a kitchen ceiling for quite a while. It was during COVID and we were both home and we were both teaching from home. And I had taken a bath that morning and I got ready and I came downstairs. Jake was actively teaching in the bedroom without any heat.
Which means I was wearing my footy pajamas over my clothes every day because that's how cold it was. So my students got used to seeing Mr. Harren in his adult-sized footy pajamas.
Yeah. Anyway, I come down to the kitchen and the ceiling is crying, the lack of ceiling, is crying all over the kitchen floor and there's standing water everywhere. And so I'm freaking out and I run upstairs and I'm like, Jake, you need to get off right now and help me figure out where all this water is coming from.
Which my fourth graders thought was hilarious that my frantic wife is yelling at me in the background of our math lesson. So I sent them on a quick break.
Yeah. And we did figure it out. Turns out 100-year-old plumbing can completely rust apart, and I drained the entire bathroom into the kitchen and the basement. But
that wasn't really a problem because we didn't have a ceiling in half the house, so it's not like it damaged anything. It just got the floor all wet.
And the floor was that beautiful green linoleum that we had. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What I liked about the linoleum, after I knocked down that ceiling, if some of you have done these house projects, I could use a manure shovel to scrape up all the lath and plaster leftovers, and the linoleum still looked brand new when we were done. So I'm team linoleum. She is team not linoleum.
Okay, so within all of this that we were doing, as well as teaching, and COVID, what were some challenges that we had in those first years in marriage?
I can remember, I'm just making sure I'm on track here. I would say that it was very difficult when we were living where we were before this in the apartment and then here, when you have some of these planned projects and then some of these unplanned projects, and you're also newly married, and the communication was probably the number one difficulty. Some of the difficulty with the communication was I definitely didn't have a perspective of we're on the same team yet. Like, when things were going good, that's good. But when things weren't, it was like me versus her. Like, here we go again. You know, and it was always like this being on the defense. And with that, I would do a lot of spiraling. Like something would upset me. Say, the bathtub, starts leaking into the kitchen or something, minor everyday stuff like that. And that would upset me, but then I wouldn't really, be able to talk through all the things that were bothering me or didn't really know what. And so then I just blame her because she was there. And then I get more upset because she wasn't reading my mind. And I didn't really know what I was upset about half the time. Something just irritates you. It seems like it's the bathtub, but it might have been other things. And first year teaching, feeling like, why did I go into teaching? These kids are out of control at school. I don't know what I'm doing. So just target it all at your new spouse, right? That's going to go well. And there was a lot of that, just not being able to communicate well and seeing each other, definitely from my end, of seeing each other on the same team.
Yeah, and I would say along with that, the whole keeping score thing, where I did the dishes once, so now it's his turn to do the dishes, or I apologized last time, so now it's his turn to apologize, and moving into a mindset of I don't win if he loses. We win together or we lose together. We are on the same team, which we have grown a lot in. We are not currently at that part of life anymore.
No, we're not professionals.
No, we're not professionals in marriage.
But if we were to keep score for the 2.5 years we lived in that house, I did do 99.8% of the dishes because we didn't have a dishwasher. She wanted one right away, and I said, no, we're not. That's not in the budget. And I did all of the dishes that whole time.
Yeah, okay.
But you shouldn't keep score. Keeping score isn't healthy in a relationship. All right, let me write that one down.
I feel like you didn't put the whole context to that story.
One.
I wanted to buy a portable dishwasher because I have zero interest in doing dishes by hand. Jake said, no, we don't need one of those. And I was like, then you're going to do the dishes every single time. And he said, okay, I will. And to his credit, he actually did. So he is a professional dishwasher.
I took that as a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do all the dishes. Yeah.
And for the last month we lived there, we had a dishwasher because we, of course, remodeled the kitchen so that we could move, not so we could enjoy it ourselves. And then we did sell the house eventually, and we moved to Forest Lake. I had a job teaching in the Forest Lake district, and I just really liked it up here. And so when we started looking around at new houses, or at different houses, we were looking up here, and turns out you can afford more up here than you can in New Brighton. So we ended up in a house in Forest Lake. And Jake, tell us, what was the biggest, most important thing that happened when we lived in Forest Lake?
I got a running and driving hearse. Picture, please.
I don't think there's a picture of the hearse.
Yeah, Amelia's sitting in the seat.
Oh, okay. The Amelia picture.
Yeah. See over there? She's like 3 days old. And she's sitting on crushed velour for the first time in her life. And I hope someday when I have another car with crushed velour, she'll have this epiphany of, oh, I remember that feeling 3 days old. But yeah, look how tiny she was. Yeah, that did happen. And when we started going to church here, some of you knew me as the guy who drove the hearse. I had another hearse before that, but it didn't run or drive unless you poured gas down the carburetor and hoped for the best. So that
side note, he strategically bought that like a month before he proposed to me, so that he didn't need my input at all.
Yep. Didn't work out for me, but anyway, I had it for a little bit. That wasn't the most important thing that happened at Forest Lake. The most important thing that happened was we went from being husband and wife to mom and dad as well. And there's a picture of Amelia when she was born, and she'll be 4 at the end of July here. So time flies. And with that, as maybe some of you, either moms or dads, who are parents for the first time or have been, even if it was a while ago, I went through a period as the dad to be, all 9 months of Justine being pregnant, of all these unknowns and all this worry and all this doubt and just all the things that I, thought, what if I'm not doing it right? And what if this and what if that? Not the whole time. There were times where I was feeling good about it, but just the uncertainty. And with that, when the time came, Justine had a 4-day induction here at Wyoming, which that was very long. And that didn't help the process. It was kind of defeating feeling. And with that, how long were you in active labor for when it actually came?
I don't know.
A
But
long
I
time.
was pushing for 3.5 hours.
She was pushing for 3.5 hours. I was there. I was involved. And with that, with that, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I'm not trying to claim to be here. But I noticed as Amelia and wasn't quite born yet, but was getting there. There was all of a sudden a lot more blood. And again, I'm thinking to myself, like, this isn't good. Everybody in the room, we got to know a lot of the nurses very well because we'd already been there for 4 days. So I was feeling very comfortable with all of them and knowing like they knew exactly what was up, and a lot of experienced nurses too. But with that, like, we were making progress here. We were seeing Amelia almost being born, and there was just continually more and more blood. And then there were some hushed whispers and hushed tones. And if I were to start being more concerned, that might have got Justine more upset. So I was trying to keep it together. And then Amelia was born, and we went over to the little table with the light and the weigh thing and the clamp and the scissors and all that stuff. And we did that. It was all kind of a blur. And then they did something that they didn't tell me they were going to do. They were telling me, the baby's born, and then you hold her and you put her in that little bassinet thing. But they just wrapped her up and gave her to me. And one of the nurses who we'd been with said, "Yeah, you can stay in here, or you can spend some time with your daughter out by the nurses station." And I was like, okay, I definitely had this sense of they need to do some things here. And what ended up happening was Justine had a postpartum hemorrhage and lost more than half of her blood. So as I'm in the Wyoming labor and delivery, we already had 5 or 6 people in there before she was born, and now the whole floor cleared out. So luckily there was nobody else in labor and delivery. There were a couple moms in recovery, and all 13 staff were in there. Like, even I don't know, an aide or whoever would be answering the phone at the nurse's desk. And I'm walking around with Amelia, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this, in all the 9 months of worry and concern and what ifs, I never wondered or thought, well, what if we go to the hospital with one girl and I leave with the other one, but not both of them? Like, I never had thought that. So 9 months of worrying didn't pay off. And with that, we were walking around the nursing station, me and Amelia, and every time she'd go under one of the fluorescent lights, her eyes would get really big. She was like minutes old. And we'd stick our head in the room, and there was continually more and more trauma things going on. And all of a sudden there's, more tools are being used, and the tools are, covered in blood. And then all of a sudden there's blood all over the floor. And again, having worked in some funeral service and seen some things after someone passes, I'm like, this is looking worse and worse. In that, I had a lot of peace because of knowing those nurses that we had got to know so well, and our doctor that we had seen so many times. But still, not like, this isn't how this was supposed to go, and this isn't good. And then I felt some relief when the blood cooler guy came by with a blood bag. I got to know who they were, and then he came by again a couple minutes later. I was like, okay, these are good things. You need that stuff. And then a third time he came by, and I was like, you only have so many blood, so much blood here. Like, what? And we could see in the room, and Justine never went unconscious, but we were kind of right on the edge of that. And she ended up losing more than half of her blood. And the trauma that ensued in there was one of the bags of blood actually ripped open when they were trying to do a transfusion, hence the crime scene look on the floor. So that just added to the concern about it. But my point in all that is, it was very difficult, and I had all that worry, and I had all that concern, and I thought I had every detail that I ran through in my head, and that was never one of them. And with that, when we came home from the hospital after a week there, a full week, we had some difficulty too in the recovery. Could you share more about that, wife?
Yeah.
From your perspective?
So I am here, obviously, even though there were some times where we weren't sure about that. But I am thankful to the staff at the Wyoming Hospital and modern medicine, because I would not be here without it. But I came home, and I was in a really, really rough place for quite a while. It was like I I mean, I had this beautiful baby, but like I couldn't even really appreciate that.
You couldn't even hold her.
No, I couldn't even hold her. I didn't have the strength to hold her. So it was like I was at the bottom of this pit, and I was being held down by post-traumatic stress disorder. I was barely functioning. And throughout this time, I had some of this poor theology going on. I thought that God was at the top of my pit, and he was looking down at me, and he was doing one of two things. He was either disappointed because I couldn't get myself up out of my pit, or I thought he was up there looking down at me, smiling, as I am literally in anguish, because my concerns are so small compared to his greatness. And that's not really a God that I would want to be a part of. But it turns out that's not what God did. That was not my God. My God was not at the top of my pit. He came down into my pit with me, and he wept with me, and he held me. And he took the pieces of me that were left, and he pulled them out of the pit, and he redeemed the rest of me. And I mean, not saying that it wasn't a lot of work or effort, but I am here and I am better because of God and because of what he did with me in that pit. Yeah, and I guess to connect with that quote that Pastor Mike says a lot, there is no pit so deep that my God's not deeper still. That really resonates with me because my God was there in the pit. He did not stay at the top. He came down with me. So from that experience, I'm like fundamentally changed. And like the three big ways. One, the way that I see God has fundamentally changed because my God, the God in middle school that I read about in that book that I started following that wanted to be involved in my everyday, he also wanted to be down in the very worst parts of my life with me. And I mean, like, what a God. And it also changed how I see myself because I am apparently important enough to him that he did come down into the pit with me. And it also has changed the way I see other people because I am not the only one that God would come into the pit for, nor did he. Our God came down to earth. Jesus came down to earth and experienced this life with us. And he did it for my coworker, and he did it for my siblings. He did it for my friends. Like, seeing the way that God sees me and the way God sees other people has changed the way that I navigate this world. Yeah, Jake, you wanna?
Yeah, I think
you learned?
one of the big difficulties at home when you think about how things are supposed to go and going to go was that Justine was going to be, I was going to be assisting as much as I could with night feedings, and then Justine was going to be doing the night feedings, but she was so weak that the encouragement from medical staff was, she really needs like a good 6 weeks to rest and recover and sleep as much as she can. So you're going to be doing night feedings. And I was thinking to myself as they're telling me this, like, this is very serious, but I'm not really equipped to do the feedings. And they're like, no, it's okay. We'll give you this little like syringe with this little straw. And then, your pinky will kind of help her, simulate that she's going to get ready to nurse when your wife's more recovered. And I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And I was very upset. I wasn't very, I don't know if the word was upset. I was feeling kind of like Justine, but maybe, since I can't always put my feelings of frustration into words, I'm getting better than when we were first married. But sitting in a chair with my, legs up like this, and Amelia in my lap, and my finger, and it's, doing all the night feedings whenever she needed them. And we got to make sure, the milk wasn't 98.6 because it wasn't coming out of me. So I was trying to make sure it wasn't too hot and too cold. And I'm sitting there. And the thing that was really frustrating, which, again, I'm not a nursing mom, so I understand I don't know all the ins and outs, but I would feed her too fast. and then she'd yak all over me at midnight. And then I'm covered in it, she's covered in it, run down, the chair's covered in it. And I was like, this is not how this is supposed to go. But I wasn't going to go in and wake up my, not quite recovered, borderline half dead a couple days ago wife and say, wife, this isn't really going well for me. So, not the time. So Amelia and I got better at the feedings and figuring out what works well and how high to have her propped up. And that was very difficult because that wasn't how it was supposed to go. But I think with that, is this where I'm still going, or is it back to you?
No, we got to wrap up soon. So why don't you talk about some of the therapy stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, that's where I'm in here. So with that, believe it or not, I had this feeling of like, I got to keep all these balloons in the air. I know I've heard that analogy other places, but I felt like I was trying to do all these things. Well, eventually, Justine, as we could see, recovered and was doing well that first year. But I kept feeling like I need to do all these things, and I can't share with Justine how I'm feeling. And I switched schools, and I had switched grade levels, so that was all new, and new curriculum. It was very stressful. But believe it or not, I ended up myself in therapy. And in therapy, some things that I learned was it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help. Even though you don't want to, like right now up here, you get emotional. It's okay to talk about hard things. So I didn't learn those things or know those things until I went there and talked with someone who was a Christian counselor, and he just did a lot of listening and processing of like what it was like from my perspective, because it was kind of easy to make face and power through and stay strong for your wife, but at a certain point, I started crashing and burning a little bit with that. And I realized I didn't have to keep all the balloons in the air because Justine could take over some of the balloons again, the balloons of life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then to kind of wrap us up, we did have another baby, and that time I did not have complications. It was beautiful. Apparently that's how it's supposed to go.
Right like that.
There is
better than textbook.
There is Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved up to North Branch because we needed more space. And now we're just kind of living life and learning lots of new things along the way. Jake, in like 30 seconds, if there was one way or one takeaway you want people to get from our story, what would it be?
I think there were times in as life was happening and upon reflection, where if we think about our theme here this year at Maranatha is trust me. And do we trust God? There were times where I thought I was doing a really good job of trusting God because I was letting God be the co-pilot. And I was giving him some things. And I realized that when I let go of some of the things that I thought I needed to hang on to and let him be in control and give it all to him and not try and just give him tidbits and pieces that I didn't want to deal with, but give it all and surrender, which I'm not perfect at still. I realized that that's what he's calling us to do, and not use him as a lifeline, but first defense.
Yeah. And then for me, if I were to choose one takeaway, it would be that God is an intimate God who wants to be involved in your everyday, and you're really bad and you're really good. And he is our creator, and he's also our redeemer. And I am redeemed because of him.
Yeah, and in those things, God is good all the time. And it's even when it's difficult in the depths of the pit, that's still true.
Wow. What a cool story. Will you join me? Let's thank them. He is good, and he is trustworthy. And just hearing the intimacies of how he met you right where you needed him to meet you, I mean, that's all of us. That's him. Amen.